Everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always. What are we exploring today?
Well, today we're going to some pretty wild places. Places where gravity seems to just take a vacation. You know those gravity hills, mystery spots?
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those.
We've got a ton of research on these places. And some of them, they play with your mind with how you see things.
Like how?
Okay, so picture this. Electric Bray, it's in Scotland. People say their cars roll uphill, engine off.
Wait, uphill? With the engine off? That doesn't make sense.
Right. Sounds like a ghost story almost. But get this. It's an optical illusion.
Really?
The way the hills and trees are laid out, it tricks your brain. You think you're going up, but you're actually going down.
So gravity isn't actually different there. It's just like a trick.
Exactly. Your eyes are playing tricks on you. And there's a bunch of places like this. Spook Hill in Florida. Cosmos Mystery Area in South Dakota. St. Denis Mystery Spot, that's in Michigan.
Yeah.
They all use these visual tricks to make you think the impossible is happening.
That's wild. It's amazing how easily we can be fooled.
Right. But then you've got places like the Kayaktiyo Pagoda in Imamar. Now this one's different. It's got this huge, massive gold boulder. And it's just balanced on the edge of a cliff. It's been there forever. And the story goes, it's held there by, get this, a single hair from Buddha.
Wow. That's an incredible image. Whether you believe the legend or not, it's pretty amazing just from a construction standpoint.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so let's move on from illusions, those trick to the eye.
Yeah.
What about spots where it's nature, like natural forces that seem to mess with gravity?
Okay.
You know, where water flows uphill or things look like they're floating. We've got some research on a few places like that.
I'm intrigued.
Okay, so think about the Hoover Dam.
Okay.
Now, besides being like a total engineering marvel, right, the way it's built, it creates this powerful updraft.
An updraft.
Yeah. And that updraft can actually lift water droplets. So it looks like they're floating upwards.
So it's not just like a little breeze, it's wind strong enough to fight gravity, at least with the water.
Yeah, exactly. The size of the dam and the way it's designed, it all works together to create this crazy strong updraft. And it looks pretty wild, and it shows you how even something like wind, right, which seems pretty basic, when you make it big enough, it can do some pretty amazing things.
Right. It makes you wonder what other forces are out there right around us doing things and we don't even notice.
That's a great point. And here's another example, Kinder Downfall. It's in England. It's a waterfall. But when the wind blows from the west, and it has to be strong, it pushes the water back up. So the waterfall basically flows in reverse.
A waterfall going up? That's crazy.
I know. It's like nature's putting on a magic show. So we've seen how our eyes can trick us, right? And how powerful wind can be. But what about places where gravity itself is just weaker? Is that even possible?
That's a great question. And it leads us to some really interesting places, scientifically speaking. Gravity, it is a fundamental force, right? But it can actually vary a little bit depending on a few different things. Like one thing that affects it is the density of the Earth's crust. So the Earth, it's not, perfectly the same everywhere. Different areas, they've got different stuff in them, different densities, and that can actually change how strong gravity is in that spot.
Okay, so it's not like gravity is broken in these places. It's just a little bit weaker than we'd expect.
Exactly. And a really good example of this is the Hudson Bay anomaly. It's in Canada.
Hudson Bay anomaly, okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean if I go there, I could set a new high jump record?
Probably not. The difference is it's real, but it's not something you'd notice just walking around. But what's cool is why it's there. It's because of the last ice age.
Oh, wow.
Thousands of years ago, this massive, massive ice sheet covered the whole area. And all that ice, it was so heavy, it actually pushed down on the Earth's crust.
Hold on, you're saying the ice was so heavy it dented the Earth?
Exactly. It's called isostatic depression. Basically, the ice sheet, it made the Earth's mantle, that's the layer under the crust, it made it flow away from that spot. So it created this dip in the Earth's surface.
Okay, but the ice, it's long gone, right? Yeah. So why is gravity still weird there?
Well, that's where it gets even more interesting. See, even though the ice melted, the Earth, it's still bouncing back from that dent.
It is.
Yeah. Really, really slowly. Think of a memory foam mattress. You know how it slowly goes back to its shape after you get up?
Right.
It's like that. It's called isostatic rebound. And it takes thousands of years.
Whoa. So the Earth is still adjusting from something that happened thousands of years ago. That's crazy.
It really shows you how long these geological processes take. And because the mantle hasn't like fully bounced back yet, that area, it still weighs a bit less. And that means weaker gravity.
So we're talking about like the legacy of an ice age. That's pretty amazing. I mean, does that mean there could be other spots like this around the world, maybe from like other big geological events?
That's a really good question. And it gets to why these anomalies are so fascinating. They give us this peek into how dynamic our planet is.
And it makes you wonder, right? Are there other like invisible forces at play that we haven't even figured out yet?
Yeah.
I mean, if something that happened thousands of years ago can still like affect us today, what else is going on under our feet right now? It's kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. It reminds us that we're always learning, always discovering new things about the world, and even something like gravity, something we think we understand, it can still surprise us.
Yeah, it makes you think like what we think is like solid, unchanging. It's really not. It's always changing. So we've talked about, illusions, wind messing with water, and now the Earth itself kind of like changing gravity.
It all comes back to how these places make us feel. They make us question, make us realize we don't know everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not just the science either. Think about that pagoda, the Kaiktio pagoda, and the stories about it. I mean, these places, they spark our imagination, like culturally too.
Definitely. I mean, whether it's a boulder hanging on a hair from Buddha or a car rolling uphill, like it makes us curious. We want to figure out why.
It's like each of these places is like a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And figuring out the answer, it's even more interesting than the mystery itself.
I think that's what makes this topic so cool. It's science, it's culture, and it's a bit of mystery all mixed together. It's like an invitation to question what you see, to keep exploring the world and be amazed by it.
I couldn't agree more. So anyone listening, if you hear about a place where gravity's gone wild and you get that feeling of like, what, how, don't ignore it. Look into it. You might be surprised what you find.
Yeah. And remember, even with all the technology, all the information we have, there's still room for wonder. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just need to look a little closer and the ordinary becomes extraordinary.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this gravity-bending deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.